Hey guys, I'm Brian.
And I'm Terry.
And welcome to the Forest Farm Project.
Back at it again today.
You know it.
Yep.
Today we're going to work on running some supply lines and a drain line.
Exactly. Supply lines to the washer and to the ice maker refrigerator box there. Finish off that
drain for the
the washer. Get them under the house. We won't hook them up yet. We got to do some laundry first. Lots of laundry and get it all ready. So when we disconnect all this, until we get it inspected, which should be the next day, we just have to. We won't have a way to hook up the washer.
That's it. But it'll be one extra day probably because we got to close in this wall that's in between us and you, and then put flooring down in here as well. And we don't have that. We got to go buy it. So
a
couple more days and we should be able to get inspection.
Yeah. We might make those connections then.
Yeah.
Yeah. That remains to be seen. This day isn't over yet.
We'll see what happens. Let's get to it.
So we got to get this PEX hooked on here for the hot and cold. We got to drill a hole through this bottom plate to accomplish that. We're going to drill out close to the edge and then we'll put a nail plate here so that nails cannot hit it. Normally you'd like it to be in the center, but with this band right here, you could have to drill all the way through the bottom. We got brick down there. It'd be a lot of work. It's a lot easier just to come through this edge right here. Shoot it down at an angle. That's a 3/4 hole, and I want to, before I go drilling them all, we need 3 holes. 2 for this washer, hot and cold, and then 1 for the water for the refrigerator there, ice maker. Let's make sure this is going to go through there. Perfect. Now an experienced plumber would say, I better drill my hole first before I mount my water box for the ice maker. We're not quite that smart. So we'll take this down temporarily. You just hang around. I'll be back to you in a minute. Now we'll run this cold water line up to the ice maker box for the refrigerator. Personally, I don't use ice. I just use tap water, lukewarm, or whatever it comes out, or the refrigerator cold water. My wife likes a full glass of ice with a little bit of water in it. So she gets what she wants. Now we've got to get out through this band over here. And we've already looked underneath. There's no wiring running down low. We're going to just drill down here and shoot it out into that crawl space. The washer, hot and cold lines are going through over there. There's already a water line running here, and then they turn that way and go to the old washer. We're going to cut them off, and we're going to tie our new lines in over there. This cold water for the ice maker and the cold water for the washer will tie together, and the hot water will go to the hot water line. So let's get us a hole right here.
Nothing to it.
Yep. So this line's going to have to go in that crawl space and over to approximately that wall. So I'm just going to push some down there that'll be about that. Well, you know what? We'll just pull what we need when we're under there. That's a 20-foot pipe. We're only about 6 feet over there from here, so plus this, we're probably good. If we need it, we'll pull some more. Now we're going to run these are 1/2-inch PEX, by the way, and we're going to run these 1/2-inch PEX through this bottom plate, through that bottom band right there, and out to where we're going to hook them up. We put a piece of orange tape on what we're going to call the hot line. Hot will be on the left, cold on the right, just like a normal outlet box in the house or faucet area. I think it'd be easier to get this pipe down this hole now and run it than to stick it through the wall and try and get it back up in this hole. Who knows?
Yeah. Here, I'll hold those up for you. Help feed it a little.
Okay. Now, Brian.
Yeah.
How many feet do we need under there?
I think the pipes are about 1.5 feet away from the wall. So if you leave a couple of feet extra, that should get us past the connection points that we're cutting off.
So I'm just going to grab it out here and say that's about 2 feet, wouldn't you?
Yep.
That's almost 3. I'd rather have too much than not enough down there. Do the same with this one. And that should do it. And standing here looking at this box, I didn't pay that much close attention when we put it in. I assumed that that bracket and all this stuff would hold everything straight. But upon further inspection, I noticed this is prone to the wall, or protruding out into the wall area. You don't want this thing sticking out and messing your sheetrock up, having everything crooked. You can come over here and get a shot on this, Brian.
Okay.
Show them what I'm talking about. See the gap right there? This box is not straight. It's tilted into the room a little bit.
Yep.
I think we can pull these 2 front screws out and tilt that box back and then screw them in again at the proper angle, and I think we'll be okay. Let's see what happens here. This is another one of them little things, if you were a plumber, you'd think of that ahead of time. You'd have thunk it.
Yeah, thunk it up.
Yep. Now let's try and push it back. Is it straighter?
Looks like it might be.
It's a little bit off.
Much straighter than it was, though.
Yeah. Just to be on the safe side, we're going to go ahead and make sure this cover still fits this thing. Beautiful. Now, before we go into the house and locate these PEX lines, we need to determine where center of this pipe is. This is our drain off of the washer. We need to get center of this pipe, and we need to figure out where it centers based on the floor, and we want to transfer that line over here. When we get on the other side of this wall, there's this joist, and there's one right next to it, about 1.5 inches away, Brian. So we're going to have to drill through both of those. We're going to run our pipe through both of those, attach it here. When we get over there, we have to get below those joists, so we'll have to do a 90 down, and then a 90 over that way, and then a 90 back to the original water line, and make that connection. There's one. We've got 2 joists here, this one and one that's about 1.5 inches away, 1.25 inches. Then it goes over, I'm not sure exactly how far, and there's another joist. I want to see how far away that other joist is. The other joist is about 19.25 inches, because I'm hitting it over there. Having to go through some insulation we need to pull down. Incidentally, before we did any of this drilling at all, we went under the house and checked that there were no water lines, gas lines, electrical, drain lines. You know, you want to make sure you're not drilling through something. You can't just go drilling holes in wood. You have to go and see what's over there. And we've already predetermined that there's no problems. But anyway, this is 19¼ deep there. So somewhere between this surface and 19¼ back in there, our pipe's going to have to run. I'm just going to represent that here, right here. So that's 4½ inches in from this surface to inside there. I measured over to the joist under there, it was 19¼ So somewhere between there and there, we've got to have a pipe running from there, under there, and it's going to have a 90 to get down between those joists. We want that 90 to fall somewhere in that range. And that looks like, I'm just going to guesstimate, it doesn't really matter. That's about halfway, so the edge of my pipe's right there. Let's see how far into that hole I need to be. That'd put us at about 14 inches. This was 4½. This was 19¼ So we need the length of that pipe to be from that inside this pipe here to this wood, whatever that measurement is, plus 14 inches. We are at 51¼ inches from this surface to in that hole. So that's 51¼ to our drain line there, 90 degree. And I'm not an artist, never claimed to be. So 51¼ plus our 14 that we determined we need is going to be 65¼ Well, we hadn't talked about it, but we were kind of concerned. That pipe was longer than the space available. We thought we might be able to angle it and get it in there. Just wouldn't quite make it. We could have sawed that hole bigger, but we don't want to break the structural integrity of this floor system down any more than we have to. So we had to run and get a coupler because we didn't have one. We don't really have to change the distance because inside of here is a lip that's literally about 1/8 inch. And you push it on each side of the pipe. We're only gaining 1/8 inch. Not a big deal. We've got a good bit of space to play with in there.
But don't glue your coupling in and then try to put the pipe through.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to couple it and then try and put it, because you'll be right back in the same boat. What we're going to do, we're going to glue this part. We're going to glue this part. We're going to push this part through that hole and not glue it, just stick it in place. That way we can do all our build under there, and if we get our 90 on under there, we'll have it, once it's under there like that, well, if it's off a little bit, we can twist it where we need to, and this will spin in there. And then when that's all done, we can push it loose, clean it up, glue it. When you do these connections and it's not supported by anything, you might want to hold it for a minute. Those straight up and down ones, they're sitting in there, they're not going anywhere. But coming in here lengthwise like this, there's some leverage by this pipe, and if I let loose, I can see it flexing that glue back and forth. So until it gets dried, I just want to make sure it's got a good straight connection and everything's good. It's worth a minute sitting here waiting. I don't want to leak. I don't know if you guys notice when I'm gluing, I always try and keep a piece of cardboard under there because I'm sloppy. And that way I don't get glue all over everything in sight, just all over the pipe and most everything in sight. I think we're on there pretty good. I'm gonna hold this for just a minute and let it set up, then we'll go underneath and show you what we got to do under there. Okay, here's our hot water line coming from the washer box. Here's our cold water line. Hot water was marked with an orange tape so we wouldn't forget. This is a hot copper line right here, and this is a cold copper line right here. So this cold water line is plenty long. We could cut it way back here if we needed to. We've got an extra 1.5 feet or so. I'd rather have a little waste than be too short. This is the water line coming from over at the ice maker box. We've got plenty of it. It'd go all the way to the wall. We only need it right here. So we've got plenty of line there. Let's look over here where the drain line's going. As far as the drain line goes, here's our pipe that comes from in the room where we have it connected with a connector but not glued yet. Here's a 90 that's going to come down. We're going to have a short piece of pipe to get down between all this mess and get below this floor. And it's going to have to come over this way and then tie into this black pipe, which is the old, what is that stuff? ABS pipe. You can't glue to this, so we'll have to use a Fernco connector, which you'll learn later. We're not going to make any of these connections under here today. We just wanted to get everything in position so that we're ready to make the connections. We're going to get all our laundry that we can done in the house and tell the wives, you know, think what you need, get it done. Because once we cut these pipes, the washer's no longer going to have water or a drain until we can get it moved. So that involves tearing that wall out, putting the floor in, getting some sheetrock in there. It's going to be a little while. So anyway, that'll be done in a future plumbing video when we show you how we round all this up. But for now, we're going to go back up into the room and make those connections. Now that we have these pipes located, we know we've got enough pipe down here to make the joints. We're going to cut them off, show you how we connect them to the boxes, and get that area rounded up. All right, we've got the water line run here, and we know we've got enough. I'm going to cut this off. It needs to be cut about right there. I'm going to make it a little bit long and push a little more back that way as we get done.
I'll catch the excess. There we go.
There you go. Thanks, little guy.
Anytime.
So let's hook this thing up. Slide your crimp over. I'm just going to show you, for instance, that is where you're crimping into. So you want this thing roughly 1/8 of an inch. If I can get it there, about 1/8 of an inch down from the top. That gets you in between those 3 little bands that this thing crimps into. So let's slide it up on here. Man, it goes on there easy. That's what I like about PEX. It's very simple. Now we'll get the Blue Light Special machine going. For those of you who haven't seen it, when this blue light comes on, that means it is properly crimped. And it's on. That's it. Turn this little release. And we're out of there. That's done. Let's go ahead and strap this pipe in place. Bring it up here and nail it to the side of this joist. Get a second one over here. I'm pulling it up into the floor system. We have very little space. If we ever need to get under here, that little bit of space might be nice, not having them things poking down. And that should do it. Now these 2 pipes, they're going to have to cross from this area over to this area. So we have to go underneath. But fortunately, we're all the way under here. If you did crawl under here, it would be to get back in here and try and get a wire up to your panel in the future. So we're not going to worry about trying to strap up a high here. We're just going to strap it to the bottom. Right now, we need to cut them off and hook them up. You want to make sure you have the hot on the hot side and the cold on the cold. When I ran this is the one that I put the orange tape on, and I made sure I put it on the hot side so I know it's in the right location. They actually cross over when they get over there. But that's going to work out just fine for us.
I'll get the extra again. Make sure you leave enough.
Thanks, little guy.
Sure thing.
There's one. I'll go ahead and cut them both.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get that other one. Hold on.
So much for that. Same thing as before. Put your crimp on there. Slide it up on here. Get up somewhere in the neighborhood of 1/8 of an inch. Not precise, doesn't have to be exact, but just close there. Looking for that blue light, and there it is. That says we're done. Set that down a minute. Slide this one up there. And the blue light. These things are handy. They're not cheap. What were they, Brian?
About 140 bucks.
140 bucks. But if you're doing your own work and much of it, and if you're going to be doing your own stuff over the years, it's really handy. This stuff is so easy to work with. It's nice. You know, if you were just going to do a couple little things, you might be better off with CPVC or
shark bites
or soldering. You know, you can buy that stuff cheaper and get the job done. But we're going to be doing 2 whole houses, plus we've done tons of plumbing for different family members over the years. So this is a worthwhile investment if you're going to use it. Well, that rounds the rough end plumbing up for this area, with the exception of that pipe connection. As we told you, we're going to leave that loose until we get the drain pipe all connected. That way we can twist things whichever direction we need to in here, and then come back finally and glue that section. And that'll be about it in here until we get ready to turn that washer off. We don't want to turn it off completely until we have to, because it might be a few days or a week, who knows, before we can get back using it. Women don't like it when their clothes aren't clean. Men will go a few days. Yeah. But so we'll finish that up in a future video. Next video is probably going to be closing in this doorway and getting the flooring ready to go down. Big probably. I would say definitely, but maybe. Yeah. So that's about it. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure you're subscribed. If you're not, hit that subscribe button. Give us a big thumbs up for a like. Share us with your friends, and check back often. A lot more coming, guys. See you next time. See ya.